there everyone, it's Anthony back with another video here on Single and Placing. Hi, I hope you're having a fantastic day, weekday, weekend, week, month, evening, overnight, all of that good stuff. I hope you're having a good one. As you can see, today we are here with a little whip and chat, but this is a little bit more specific. This is going to be pertaining to my cross stitch conversion. So you can see we're all nice and zoomed in on a particular section here. And so we're going to work a little bit on this cross stitch conversion, whip and chat style, but it's with the particular topic of just giving you an update on kind of where we're at, lessons learned, things that I've changed since I started in on this project, all that good stuff. I'm cleaning out the putty and my pen right now just because I want to pick a all new scent to do with this. I should have probably done this beforehand. But yeah, make sure to leave in the comments how you're doing, how your week and day's going. I'm going to try to get this up the second it's posted because I've been slacking on the videos other than vlogs and unboxings. So I'm like, okay, you have the energy and the desire to do this, so do it and share it. That way people know that you still are working on this project or still have the intention of sharing updates on it. And we're actually getting to a point now where it was like, should I just finish this and just call it good? Please don't eat my slippers. Is that what you're doing? Yeah, you think you're cute. You think you're cute, and you are. Okay, so let's see. So I've made a commitment. All right, so scratch that. Let's start with what I'm working on in case this is your first time hearing about this project, what I'm working on, what it entails, and then the tools and accessories and all that stuff, okay? So this is Head of Medusa. This is a old masters from Peter Paul Rubens, and I believe it's from 1618. The image is of the head of Medusa after it's been decapitated by Perseus, and it's laying there in the sand or in the dirt, it looks like it's in some sort of ravine or kind of canyony looking area. The snakes are escaping from her head, some are eating each other, some are giving birth, and then it's her head. So this section that we're in right here is the last little bit of this grouping of snakes. Below, to the other end of this where you see the blank, this is where her head actually starts. So we're on like kind of the last section before we're really going to kind of reveal her head. This is like the top of her head-ish, maybe a little bit further down, but it's kind of in that realm. So we're getting right to maybe the more graphic parts of this image. And so it's a good time to do an update. That way you don't have to look at like an eye looking back at you or something weird. So it's like, I might, if it's going to happen, it needs to happen now. The way that I film these is in reverse, so the camera's on the other side. So usually when I go to edit this, I'll put it in reverse. I'm not sure, whichever looks best. So you may be looking at it upside down. Who knows? This is a kit from, sir. This is a kit from Jaded Gem Shop. So I got the drills and the canvas from Jade. I sent her the cross stitch pattern and she put all this together for me. It's 83 colors, no special drills or anything like that. And it's 61.25 by 100 centimeters. And I've been working on it for about a month and a half, maybe 2 months now. And my hope is to finish it by the end of March. So, and we're approximately 75% done, and I'll talk about why I don't know that. As far as tools go, I've got my trusty thick Enablers Outpost pen. This is with a single placer and then a 5 placer on the other side, thin metal multi-placers. The tray that I'm using is just my white tray, or my kind of off-white tray. It changes color in UV. Mooney Made tray. I'll show you like that. I don't know. I'll flip it. I don't know. You'll see it regardless. And then my funnel is from Bella Art Nicole. This is my favorite funnel. It's a 3D printed funnel, but it doesn't have any ridges and it's not silicone, so my ABs don't get stuck to it. This is like literally a game changer. It really speeds up the process. I don't have to tap it. Well, I do occasionally, but not like my other one where I really have to tap it. I don't have to fish ABs out of it. This is like, if you don't have one of these, you need to get one. And the little sunflower petals are perfect to get your fingers around it so that they don't slip. It's just thoughtful design. Good quality, good price. It's maybe one of my most favorite accessories right now. The washi tape that I'm using is from the Washi Tape Shop. So I have that. I've got a cover minder here that you can't see, but it's a little fried egg from Merry Making and More. What else? I'm not using any other pens, no other trays. And then as far as my putty in my pen that I'm going to put in, I am trying to work through what I've identified as my winter scents from Merry Making Crafts Merry Mud. So I'm trying to get through all the ones that I consider my winter holiday, because if I don't, I never will. And then we'll get to next Christmas and then I'll be buying more. And so I'm like, I have to get through what I've identified as like my winter scents. So I really like this Cozy Cashmere. I actually have 2 of these. This is one of my favorite scents from her. Christmas Tree, Frosty Berry and Candy Cane. We have Ski Lodge, Sweater Weather, Gingerbread, Mrs. Claus's Kitchen, and then Victorian Christmas. I don't think I've ever used Mrs. Claus's Kitchen, so let's go ahead and use that. Like I said, just trying to use up some seasonal stuff. That way, when next season rolls around, I'm not doubling down and just amassing too many muds. So I've been using different mud, like every time I do a diamond painting session or different putty. Just, ooh, that smells really nice. It's kind of like sugar cookies, but there's like a little spice in there too. It's sugar and spice. Okay, so I'm going to, off camera, stab my single placer. I just don't want to shake you, so I'm going to do it on my other table. Stab my single placer, and then stab my multi-placer. I probably did shake you anyway. Okay. Wipe off our excess. And then we're good to go. So, there it is. And there it is. Okay, cool. So that'll give us enough to get through, ideally, the rest of this little section here. As far as other tools that I'm using, well, I guess we'll get right into it. So yeah, I have been really, really, really loving cross-stitch conversion. I've mentioned it in other vlogs and stuff. Excuse me, sir. You're right up next to me. Okay. I've mentioned it in vlogs. I've mentioned it here and there everywhere. But I have fallen head over heels with the process of doing a cross-stitch conversion. If you've never heard about them before, or you're like, what is a cross-stitch conversion? There are a lot of great resources. I'm gonna start working on putting together a series of videos for my next cross-stitch conversion where I really go back to the basics and talk about why I decided to do it, what's the difference between that and a regular diamond painting, all of that stuff. There's also a lot of really good resources from some other content creators that are worth looking at, but I think it's valid, since I've fallen in love with this process, to share why I started, how I got started, what you would need to do to get started, and why it might appeal to you. But I've already done one video about this project, about ordering for it, and so I think it'll be nice to start fresh. Once this one's done, I already have 2 more lined up to start on. So we'll get there. You might feel like you're coming into this mid-project, which you kind of are, and maybe I should have done a better job of easing people into this, but I kind of just got excited and got started on it. So be on the lookout for that in the coming months if you really need to take it back to basics. This is really just what I've learned since the last video, which was me getting started. So yeah, it's been a couple of months, or close enough to a couple of months, and I've just really loved this process. The experience of putting together something on a blank canvas really has spoken to me. I feel like I'm more invested in this artwork. I'm more invested in this piece. I feel like I'm taking more intention to get it right and do it well, for the most part. We'll talk about some missteps. And I just feel more connected to the artwork because I selected something that really spoke to me, and I feel like cross-stitch patterns give you more variety in terms of style of artwork and genre. You can get pretty weird, more weird than I've seen it with diamond paintings unless you do a custom. There's a lot more out there just because cross-stitch is a much more traditional, tenured craft. So there's just more patterns to pick from than diamond painting kits. And so the actual process is pretty similar. The difference is you're looking at your cross stitch pattern on a screen and then matching that to the canvas. So there's no symbols here, like on these actual, you know, where the drills go. You have to reference your pattern to know, like, okay, this is G, this is A, this is 1, this is dot. So that's how you figure it out. And you may see some numbers here. Those are to identify blocks of 10. So sometimes people, like, cross-stitch patterns are done in 10 by 10 squares. So this canvas is also done in 10 by 10. So it lets you know exactly where you're at, which is really nice. Not all canvases have that, but the Jaded Gem Shop ones have the 10 count, and that actually is very helpful. I will be trying some different products and canvases and materials in upcoming projects, so I'm curious to see if it makes it a little bit harder for me or if I don't notice a huge difference. Snap that boy into place. But I can say that for a beginner, using that 10 by 10 grid is a good reference, because then you can say, all right, it looks like G is 3 over 1, 2, 3, and it's actually counted 1, 2, 3. So it makes it a little bit easier. Not all canvases will have that, but for a beginner, it's kind of nice to have almost like little training wheels on counting. So that's that. But yeah, like I said, I've just really been enjoying it. It's a lot more engaging. It uses a different part of my brain, at least, in having to figure out where everything goes as opposed to just matching the symbols and that's it. So it's a little bit more intensive as far as paying attention, which I like, but it means that I don't really create content behind the diamond painting or crafting table as much anymore, because I find it hard to talk while doing this, especially early on when I don't have as much filled out and it's all just a blank canvas and I really have to count everything. Because sometimes it'll be like, just one little drill in this whole area is what you need. So I have to be like, okay, up 17 over 14, like, it just becomes more intensive when I'm first starting, which is fine. It's harder to have a conversation. Like, even now I have to like double check the canvas to make sure I'm placing these in the right spot. And it just means that I'm not as like chatty. So I just haven't been doing a lot of videos at the crafting table. Apollo? Just because it's easier for me to do a vlog now. He's gonna find... So he loves putting his toy up against like the wall or up against the leg of my desk and chewing on his toy in a way that it's banging up against the table or whatever. It's almost like he wants to chew the table, but he knows that he can't. So he has to put his toy up against the table and chew it that way. And it's almost like he can pretend, but it's always so loud. Apollo, you're a nutcase. So that additional focus, that additional effort, I love it. I love it. I feel like I'm getting a lot more out of my diamond painting sessions. It's just more fulfilling to me somehow. Of course, I still enjoy doing my other kits, but this has really just kind of changed the game for me as far as what I like to do. It takes longer. It's more intensive, but I think that works out because it's also more expensive to do this style, because you're ordering the drills a la carte, you're ordering the custom canvas to order. The price can be 2, 3, 4, 5 times as much as it might be than a normal kit. But for me, it's taking 2, 3, 4 or 5 times as long. So I'm like, if I think about it that way, I'm still getting my money's worth in that sense. And I just enjoy this process a lot more. It's almost like doing a puzzle. So I'm just getting more out of it. So I don't mind the increase in price, especially when you're talking about such quality materials like the drills and canvas that Jade provides. It's just, I I think it's all very much worth it. And in fact, there's a lot of canvases that are in my stash, like regular diamond paintings, that I'm like, I wish I could get my money back for you and trade 5 of you for 1 cross-stitch conversion, you know, because I'm loving it that much. So yeah, we're just coming up on our use. So let's see here. We have double that and then this one. Okay, cool. So I'm just going through and filling in these last few colors here. I just have to count to make sure that I'm hitting the right spots. So yeah, as far as the updates go, that's kind of where we're at with the progress. And the reason why I can't tell you exactly what percent I'm at right now is because I decided to make an upgrade, and let's see, boom, 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 then this, okay. I had been using an 8-inch Lenovo tab. Apollo, hold on, let me get him a bone or something. Keep in mind, we just got back from a 4-mile dog park walk. And he is still like ready to rock and roll. So give me just a second. I'm just highlighting the ones that I just finished. Okay, frog those. There's a couple little glitches too that I want to mention about Pattern Keeper. So hold on, hang tight. I'm gonna get him a bone so he'll at least calm down for us to chat, and then we'll crank through the rest of it. Okay, 1 sec. Okay, he's got his. We're just gonna call them bones, quote unquote. Little tangent. So I got him. He usually gets raw bones, like with the marrow, but he hasn't been super interested in them recently. And so I was trying to find an alternative for him, and I ended up finding yak milk or yak cheese, quote unquote, bones. They're just like dried yak's milk, yak cheese, and it's like this hard bone. And I got one for him for his birthday, and he really liked it. But then today he had like maybe like a 3-inch piece left, and I usually only let him gnaw on it for about like 10-15 minutes because he can really eat a lot of it at one go. But I was like, we're coming down to the last little bit. I'll kind of just let you go to town. And he ate about half of that, like 1.5 inches half of it, but he doesn't fully chew it. And it's like these hard, like shards of like milky, cheesy, it's hard to explain, but it's a very hard and brittle product. And he ate like a big chunk of it all at once, and I was like, oh my God. And he seemed fine. And then I went to go get in the shower, and I hear the noise, you know, and came out, and he had the yak made him yak, essentially. So I was like, well, either I have to keep you supervised and really limit your time with that since it's like this hard product, or this isn't the right thing. Maybe we need to go to something softer. So the other thing that I've been experimenting with is they look straight out of a horror movie, but they're there's tracheas, like tracheas filled with like heart and liver, like organs, and they look horrifying, but he loves them. And the trachea is just like this soft, it almost becomes like a soft cartilage. So he can chew it and swallow it and it doesn't affect him, and he likes them. I just cut them in half because they're so big, or sometimes even into thirds. But I don't like I have to put him on a towel because it'd be really gross having raw organs. So he has to sit on a towel, and then I have to wash the towel. But it just looks nasty. So I'm just like, the things I do for this dog. But anyway, so let's see. Let me just get that placed, and then we'll do, looks like we need, so we go up 2 and then out. Okay, perfect. So yes, the process is just a lot more engaging. Material quality, I think, would definitely play a factor into your enjoyment of this. I couldn't see myself using like poor quality acrylic squares or knobbly popping drills. Like, you really have to find a company that's gonna have like stellar quality drills and canvases. So if you do have the opportunity to purchase a traditional kit from that company or something small just to test the waters before you go all in with a very expensive cross-stitch conversion, I would suggest it. I was already well versed with utilizing Jade's product because I got probably about a quarter of the way done with Senorita before abandoning that project, but I was familiar, not abandoning it permanently, but this has taken up a lot of my time, this new project. But so I was very familiar with Jade's drill, her square drill resins. They're some of the best that I've ever used. So very happy to just go all in with this. So I can definitely endorse the quality of Jade's squares, but you might want to try something small from her just to get a feel for it. But I haven't heard any complaints about popping drills, anything like that with Jade's product. I think it's almost universally loved as being, high up there. But once again, it's priced accordingly, right? So just something to keep in mind. I don't know what options there might be for quote unquote like a budget cross-stitch conversion or budget materials, but it's just with the cost, it's not necessarily, even at a budget price, I don't know if it's something I'd be willing to risk. I do know that Jade offers now some mini cross-stitch conversions, and she's actually doing the charting herself and creating the patterns herself. And those run about $40. So it's a good way to at least test the water with a cross-stitch conversion. But I really think that you'll be okay if you decide to pull the trigger on something that's like specifically what you were looking for, like if you were to send her a pattern. Okay, so I think we were talking about the tablets. That's right. So I initially started working with an 8-inch Lenovo Tab M8, which I will show you here in just a second. Let me put this away. Okay. This little funnel, I tell you what. Okay, so this was the tablet that I was originally using. Obviously, you're super zoomed in, I'm sorry, but it's just a 8-inch, 8-inch tablet, your little handy dandy tablet. Very cute, very nice, and worked incredibly well for a good portion of this canvas. But once I started getting a little bit more fast and proficient with my placing, I wanted to see more of the pattern at one time than what the little 8-inch could provide. I was able to see 8 100 by 100 squares, so 800 drills at a time, which seems like a lot, and it is a lot, especially if you're working on a high confetti canvas. But something like this that alternates between confetti and some color blocking, there were certain areas where I'm like, I'm switching colors because I can't see anything else, but I know there's a whole bunch more of this 310 just above here that I could place if I could only see it on the tablet. So I kept fighting with myself of like, should I upgrade my tablet? Should I not upgrade my tablet? And how much am I willing to invest in this cross-stitch conversion thing? But the more I thought about it and the more that I fell in love with this process, I was like, I will really be happy with that option. Certain canvases and certain sections might call for the smaller one. Certain canvases and certain sections might call for the bigger one. But if I have the bigger one, then I can zoom in as much as I need to, or zoom out. So it gives me that flexibility that the smaller one was just there was some limitations there. So I bit the bullet and I ended up going with a Chromebook, which is an actual laptop that runs Google Chrome. So now I can get Pattern Keeper on like an actual laptop, not just a tablet. Woo! And I've also downloaded a separate app called Markup RXP. That's not for this kit, but it's another option for those that don't have a Google device or a Chrome device to use something similar to Pattern Keeper on an iPad or on a Windows computer. You can access it there. I just got the larger Chromebook because I want to try both. I want to experiment with different apps. So that'll give me the option to have both on one laptop. with now that I have a Chromebook. So I have the Markup RXP. My next project will be utilizing that app. So I'll show you, it's gonna be so hard to see this. So this is my new giant, you can see how much more of the canvas or the pattern I can see, or that you can see. So this is where I'm working right now. And then it's flipped on it. It's one of those tablets that can flip back on itself. So this is laying completely flat like a tablet would, but you can see keyboards under here. So not inexpensive, but not nearly as expensive as getting a big tablet. That would have set me back, you know, over $1,000, and this was like in the sub $400 range. So I just have to tell myself that each canvas that I complete, I get to divide that cost by however much, and I'll get it down to where it's like, oh, I've only, you know, for this tablet, it's only cost me, you know, 20 bucks per kit or something like that. But it's saving my eyes. It's allowing me to place a lot more drills at one time. I can see a maximum of 3,200 drills on a single screen now instead of 800. And so it just gives me the flexibility to adjust how much I see, how fast I can go, and how infrequently I have to switch colors now. So I have to use the restroom real quick. Let me go do that, and we'll come back with kind of our final clip, I guess. Okay, so he already plowed through that entire thing. Granted, I cut it into a third. Last time I gave him a half, but that only lasted like 10 minutes. And his marrow bones, when he used to like them, they'd at least last him an hour, because he'd have to like get the marrow out. Oh, he's got his squeaky. Do you have your squeaky? Oh, he's so cute. Okay, so I don't want to make this a super long. I just kind of wanted to give you a status update, lessons learned, upgrades I've made. The tablet is really the biggest one, just because it allows me to complete more. Like, I've definitely moved a lot faster since upgrading that tablet, because now I can be like, okay, this is a confetti area. I only want to see 1,600. Oh my goodness, boy, you can do that, but you're gonna do it outside. Go. Sorry. He's gonna have a little squeak out in the hallway. Hopefully he's been getting better about, like, when I used to do that, be like, you're being loud, go have your own little playtime. He would like scratch at the door because he just wanted to be connected to me, but now he's gotten a little bit more independent as he's gotten older, and so I'll do that, and he just plops down outside the door and does a squeaky thing. So I don't feel as bad anymore. I'm just like, let me finish filming. And it doesn't really happen that often anymore because I'm not really filming that much, but he's much better about it. Okay, so we'll crank through this because I don't want to leave my boy alone too long. But yeah, the tablet allows me, or the Chromebook, I'm so sorry, the bigger screen, and it's a 14-inch screen, and the tablet was 8. I can really zoom in if I need to get those tighter pieces of sections of confetti, but I have the flexibility to really zoom out when I've got a ton of color blocking. So I'm not changing colors in my tray as often, opening up this container, closing this one, doing this, doing that. Like, I can really go to town. And so I'd say on average, I'm operating at 1.5, if not 2 times faster than I was with the other tablet. Like, it's that much of a time saver. It took me a month to get to about 46%. And maybe five weeks to get to that. And now over the course of like another 3 weeks or so, I've done just as much, if not slightly more. So it just really was a game changer. The amount of time you save not switching colors is huge. So yeah, the only drawback to having such a huge screen is getting cocky and trying to do a ton of confetti all at once. It became very hard to keep track of where exactly I was in that giant section. And so I ended up just misplacing more drills than I'd like to. It wasn't detrimental to the look of the canvas. I just knew that if I kept doing that, I was risking running out of certain colors or making a critical error that would look funky. In fact, this section that you can't see down below was also fairly confetti heavy, and I made a number of mistakes there, like an entire column was like off by one. Luckily, you can't notice because there was a lot going on in that section, but if it was the right type of canvas that had like more fine detail or more finely identified lines or vibrant colors, it probably would look a little funky. So I just know now that when I get to a high amount of confetti on my pattern, to go ahead and zoom in and work on a smaller section than 3200. Do a 1600 or just do an 800 if that's all I can really manage. So like for instance, right now, oops, that is wrong. So right now I'm working on a 1600 square because that just makes sense for this amount of detail and confetti, but I could go even tighter if I needed to. It just depends. So, but having said that, speaking of mistakes, including that one I just made, I've really learned to be a little bit more lenient with myself when it comes to making mistakes or placing the wrong drills. I try not to be excessive with it. I'm not being haphazard or just whatever goes wherever. That's certainly not the case. But I was being a lot more picky and hard on myself when something was misplaced. Like I would pry it out and try again, kind of like I did there. But there has been times where I don't catch a misplaced drill until I'm already far too deep to like move everything around or pry, like if they're all shifted over by one, to pry them all off to start again. So I'll usually just leave it if it's a close enough color. And then the other thing I'll sometimes do is let's say I accidentally placed a 938 where a 939 is supposed to go. Actually, that's not a good comparison because those are different colors. Let's say I placed a 934 where a 935 is supposed to go, and I catch it as I'm placing the 935s, the one that's supposed to go there. I'll just put that where the other one was supposed to go. Like I just kind of do a flip-flop if they're close enough. And I just taking a look at it at a viewing distance and then sharing this on social media updates, and people are like, oh my gosh, the detail, it's amazing. No one's gonna notice when those little mix-ups and like shades happen for the most part, unless they're like very excessive. So I don't beat myself up anymore about messing up the placement. I just try to make sure that the same number of drills end up on the canvas. Like that's kind of the goal at a certain point. And once again, not to excess, but on occasion, I will just let that slide. Otherwise, I will try to pop it off if it's really far off, you know. Just to make sure I'm not running out of drills, essentially. So like, you know, if I just want to make sure I have a 1-for-1 there as much as possible. It doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes I'm just like, whatever, let's just keep moving, you know? But I do the best I can to be as accurate as possible or even things out. 3362, kind of like a normal painting. 3362, where are you? 3362, okay, perfect. So yeah, that's kind of a lesson learned, is give yourself some grace. This isn't as easy to perfect as it is with the normal canvas, because once it's down, it's not like you can pry it off and see what the right symbol is supposed to be underneath. You've got to go find it in your pattern, and if you've already marked it off, it's hard to identify exactly what drill that is. It's just not as simple as it is typically, you know. So it's kind of a get it right or get close to it kind of thing. I find that I have luck with placing when I start in the bottom left-hand corner of a particular section. I'm left-handed, so that just makes sense for my brain. Are you serious? This was a reminder to talk about some of the quirks of Pattern Keeper. So I'll start in the bottom corner of a section. So let's say this is the bottom corner here. And then let's say that's 310, it's like the dot. Then I'm gonna do all of those for the entire piece that I'm working on, similar to how you do it with a normal kit, but you don't have the symbols on the canvas, so you have to be like, okay, 2 here, skip 1, 3, skip 1, 4, and then row up 4, skip 2 over. So that's how I do it for one 10 by 10, and then I'll do the next 10 by 10, and then I'll do this 10 by 10, and then this. So sometimes I'll do it that way where I'm just doing it in the sections, or let's say I've got 10, 10, 10. I've got this 3 block. I'll read it all the way across. So it's like 2, skip 1, 7, skip 1, 4, skip 1. So it just depends, however it works for your brain. And I'll try to show this next time I do a project to show you in depth. It's hard to explain without actually doing it. But you can count in different ways depending on what works best for you. I've just found that I work bottom left, do all those, then the next one. Let's say that's 939, then do those. Then this one's 3371, then do those. And before you know it, I've got the whole bottom row done. Then I start on the second row, and now I've got a 640, a 645, or whatever. And as I'm doing it, I'm filling up the rest. So eventually, by the time this square is filled up, I've got a good portion of the rest, and then I just fill in. So I try to do that as opposed to switching colors every 100. It just depends. It just really depends on how your brain works. But that seems to work out well for me. And it just depends on the mood I'm in too. Like if it's really sporadic placement, I'll take a different approach. So it's not black and white. This is how I do it always. It shifts depending on how I'm feeling and what makes the most sense to my brain at that point, how to go about it. There's been times where I've gotten so confused with the confetti of it all that I have to go, like, I can't do them all. I have to go 100 by 100 and really slow down because I made a few mistakes. So it just is... It's really dependent on you and how your mind works. There's no one way to hunt and peck on a cross-stitch conversion. It's just kind of whatever feels right. Okay, so it looks like we're over here now, and I've got one little solitary 310 that I need to place there. Okay, quirks of Pattern Keeper, and then I'll kind of wrap it up. So quirks of Pattern Keeper, I've noticed that the app can be a little glitchy from time to time, which can be frustrating, but it's okay. One of the big things that I've noticed is if I take a break from my cross stitch and I haven't turned off the app or turned off the laptop and restarted, when I come back, for whatever reason, being able to highlight or search, those buttons don't work. Like they're just kind of frozen. And it freaks me out because I'm like, oh my gosh, is it saving my progress? All I have to do is back out of my pattern and go to the main like homepage and then click on my pattern again, and it refreshes, and then everything's the way it should be. So if you run into that where it feels like it's freezing, just back out of your pattern or close the app and reopen it, and you should be okay. 3051, where are you? The other thing that I notice that it does is I will highlight and check off my drills, but it won't actually darken them. So typically when you highlight your drills and you hit check, yes, I placed them, it darkens them to a color closer to the actual color of the DMC. Sometimes it doesn't do that, and it still makes it look like you haven't highlighted and marked them. However, when you go to highlight them saying, no, I did, it says, yeah, you did. Now you're gonna frog them and remove it. So I think if I was to restart the app, they would show up as marked, but that freaks me out that something that I have selected did not darken, and I want it to darken. So what I do is I frog them, essentially removing the fact that I did them, and then I re-highlight them and do it again, and then it always makes them dark again. So once again, weird thing to bring up if you can't see it and you don't know what I'm talking about, but essentially it's basically like checking a box, but the computer's saying, you didn't check that box, or the computer isn't showing it as checked, but you go to hover over it and it says, yes, it is checked, but it doesn't look like it is, you know? So I have to uncheck it, make the computer think I'm unchecking it, and then check it again. It's weird, hard to explain, but essentially it just keeps me from worrying that I really didn't do it, you know? 3363. The computer knows it's done, but I need the visual cue, otherwise it's gonna bother me. So those are really the only quirks with Pattern Keeper. There's so much functionality to this app that I haven't yet explored. There's a lot of stuff that would be useful, I think, to cross-stitchers that isn't really necessary, I think, for a diamond painter or someone doing a conversion to understand. But I'm sure there's some stuff in here that I could use to maybe optimize my experience some more. But right now I'm just I found a good groove, and so I'm kind of sticking with that. And then once this kit is done, I'm going to be transitioning over to Markup RXP for my next project. So I want to kind of get the basics and learn the ropes there. And then when I make my way back to Pattern Keeper for the second time, then maybe I'll learn some more advanced stuff to share with you. But it really is straightforward. It's just different. And when you've been diamond painting for a long time and it's something that your brain just does through muscle memory, it can feel a little scary, a little bit daunting to change that process up. And I was definitely scared about it, but it's almost just like working on a regular pattern, except you have to, it's like someone pulled all the symbols off your canvas and stuck them on a screen and you have to just reference the screen. But I promise it's nowhere near as daunting or challenging. And if anything, it's just you're just using the process in your mind in a different way. And I personally find it to be far more engaging. And I don't know, I just love it. I just love cross-stitch conversion. I really neglected all my other projects just to keep working on this one because it's just so much fun. But the downside is, because it requires that different kind of mindset and brain power, I'm less encouraged to film while I do it, even though that seemed to go pretty well. We just finished. Even though I still can move okay, it's much easier for me just to put on an audiobook or a podcast and just kind of get not zoned out, but zoned in on this. And it's hard to talk and carry carry topics and stuff. So I will get back to doing it at some point. I've just really transitioned to doing a lot of vlog-based content creation, and I'm loving that too. So it's like, maybe I found the right rhythm for me. Maybe I found the right combination, because I'm loving doing vlog work and I'm loving doing cross stitch. So maybe I can just do these, but who knows? I definitely have plenty of kits and plenty of words to say. But that's it. That's a status update, just to give you a little bit of what's changed in my process. I most likely will not be doing another update video. Most likely you're just going to see a finish and recap, and maybe I'll do a lessons learned or things I would change, but this is my process now, and it's what I plan on sticking with through the rest of this kit. I'm hoping to have it done in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Fingers crossed. I'm averaging about 800 drills a day, sometimes more. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 days right there. If I went off of that, it would take me to the end of the month, maybe even a little bit into April. So I will have to find days where I do more than 800, maybe, 1,200. Sometimes on the weekends, I could probably get 1,600 done. It all depends on how much confetti there is versus color blocking, but I have a feeling we're in kind of the really big confetti zone. This is up above where you're looking at her big bunches of snakes and then her head. Maybe her head would be color blocking. I'm not sure. But the goal is to have this done ideally by the end of March, so I can move into April finishing at least one whip, and then probably starting one cross-stitch conversion, and then completing that over the course of April and May, and then starting on my third cross-stitch conversion in June for summer with the masters. That's kind of the plan. And I'd like to get at least 1 or 2 whips done in between that as well. So we'll see. We're going to play with it, but this is my only project I'm working on. I'm going full bore with Head of Medusa. I want to see that face. I feel like I cheated myself in seeing it earlier because last topic, I promise. When I switched to the new Chromebook and downloaded Pattern Keeper, I thought that Pattern Keeper would talk to the Pattern Keeper on my baby tablet. I thought it's all my account, right? It should all speak to each other. No, they live completely independently. So in order for me to pick up where I left off, I would have to highlight on the new Pattern Keeper all the stuff that I've already done, drill by drill. And there's no way I can do that practically. And it was also hard for me to tell where I was, because it's all blank. So I just said, forget that. And I flipped the canvas opposite and I started on the other end. So I actually had a corner to start on. So now I'm basically meeting myself in the middle, and the middle is where the head is. So it's the last part that I'm going to be working on. So I kind of cheated some people out of seeing it because I was like, oh, it's almost here. It's almost here. And then I flipped the canvas around and started again. I was like, just kidding. So now we're finally getting to it. And that's also the reason why I can't tell you a % complete or not, because half of it's on one computer and half of it's on the other. And had I been smart, I wouldn't have touched any of the drills on the new one that were on the old one. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have highlighted any of them. So then I could just say, on the tablet, I've got 40% done, and on the new computer, I have 20. Therefore, I have 60 or whatever that is, or 70 and 10, or I could do that math. But I was a smart aleck and thought, ooh, on my downtime, I'll just start highlighting all the stuff I did on my smaller tablet. That way I have it all on one. And I didn't realize how time consuming that would be. So I've only done a little bit. So now I don't have a true number because the data isn't clean. This says I'm 31.78% done on the Chromebook, on the laptop, but that's not true. It's much less because there's all this stuff that I highlighted. I hope that makes sense. I just messed it up. So now I either need to commit and fill out all the stuff that I already did on the new computer so it's giving me the right number, or I just need to let that go and not worry about the % complete, because it drives me insane when it's like, you've placed 31,143 drills, and I'm like, I've done a lot more than that. I've done a lot more than that, but I can't really know for sure because I can't just add them up anymore. So yeah, I kind of bungled that one, but it's okay. I don't think I need to know at this point. I can just tell by my eye that I'm somewhere in the 75 to 80% complete range. I could count how many squares I have left, so I could do that math. That might actually be easier. I could probably do that. If I can remember to do that while this is editing, I'll put in the description how far I am, because I can easily go in and be like, okay, 3,200, 6,400, okay, 8,000. All right, I'm approximately 90% done or 83% done. So I'll try to do that math if I can. But that's that. I've been rambling on long enough about this project. I hope you took some valuable information of what some of the changes I've made are, what some of my struggles and wins have been here, and maybe that'll encourage you to implement them yourself when you're working on your cross-stitch conversion. Otherwise, I hope this maybe encouraged you to maybe take another baby step towards potentially doing one yourself. And if there's any other additional information I can provide between now and when my finish is, you can be on the lookout for that over on Instagram. I've been posting more frequent progress updates there and little nuggets of things that I've learned. So head over there for some more info. Otherwise, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this content with friends, family members, anyone that you think might take some value out of this content, and happy placing. We'll see you next time. Bye, 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 bye.